Hi, I'm Jim. I'm a narcissist. I have narcissistic personality disorder. I'm making these videos kind of like two reasons. First, anybody that's looking to gain any kind of information. For me, they're kind of therapeutic. My plan is to kind of go through some stuff in the past, and when I eventually get caught up to the present, I'll use these maybe as like a weekly check-in. I journal. I want to celebrate and acknowledge my successes, and I want to acknowledge and forgive myself for my failures, which does happen. So before I even get to anything else, I will talk about like a big one that, man, it hit today. And I have my meeting with my therapist tomorrow, and we'll talk about it then. But I still want to bring it up here. So I think, if you've seen any of my other videos, I talk about entitlement, and a weird one is that, and of course I see things black and white. So a weird thing for me is I'm a jogger, right? I jog. And man, I just feel like everybody needs to stop and give me the crosswalk, right? For the love of God, man. And every once in a while, it's a real big challenge for me. So before I acknowledge that I had this disorder and came to be diagnosed narcissistic personality disorder, I'm not kidding. I really almost got ran over several times because I was like, F these MFers, man. I do what I want when I want. This crosswalk is mine, right? And I've shared about this before. The crazy thing is, does it matter if I'm right? Right? Yeah. Oh, there's a law that they have to yield to the crosswalk. Does that matter if they run me over and kill me? I mean, is that I was right? I mean, so I started playing around with a couple of things, and so when situations like that arise, I say stuff in my own head that, hey, that driver has every right to be an idiot if they want to, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, I need to understand that this is my disorder, wanting me to feel entitled to do whatever I want, whenever I want, and make it, other people alter and change themselves for me. So I went running today, and a couple of big fails. And here's the thing, right? I mean, like, to the point where I'm looking at cars, and I'm gonna try not to play the victim, right? I'm looking at cars, and they need to stop, right? And I'm in the crosswalk crossing the street, and forget I'm running. I mean, they're not looking back at the cars coming the other way. I mean, they're not just endangering my life, they're endangering their own. I mean, they might get in an accident with these cars, right? And I just had a couple of situations on my run today, and I was having a hard time identifying, is this my disorder? Is this a little bit of road rage? You know what I mean? I'll be honest, I wasn't successful in holding my tongue, I did not verbally abuse them, but I kind of like screamed out loud, hey, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And like I said, so, it was definitely triggering for me, right? I mean, because that's it's a slippery slope to going back to the person that would curse that car out, right? I mean, but what do I do? So, yeah, I've and I, to let you know, first, I don't jog short distances. I'm not going to try to glory hound here, so I'm not going to tell you the amount of run, but I'm not running around the block, and I'm not in backwoods Georgia, right? I live in Smyrna, so and actually on my jog I passed like right by the Brave Stadium, so these are like busy, crazy, traffic and stuff like that. So I made the decision. Here's what I'm going to do. That every major intersection that I come to, which are my problem areas, right? I'm going to stop. I'm going to pause my watch, right? And I actually did this for like the last and I'm not telling you, I'm not going to say miles or anything like that, for the last bit of my run, and I pause my watch, and I close my eyes, and I say, I will not let my disorder get me killed today. Every car will have the right of way. I don't care if you're laughing at me, right? But that's what I started doing. And for now, that is what I'm going to do. Like I said, I'm going to talk it over with my therapist, see what see what he thinks. But that is my my little anecdote about whether or not this disorder is trying to kill me, right? And on a side note, I never understood why I have such a challenge stopping at the corner, right? For those of you that have watched any of my other videos, my narcissistic personality disorder was created from childhood trauma. When I was young, my brother and I were walking back from baseball practice, and he was hit by a car, right? So I'll always wonder if part of it stems from an inner desire to be hit by a car myself, right? Of course, I suffer from survivor's guilt, right? Not just survivor's guilt from my brother, but friends and family, where I it doesn't have to make sense for my brain to have done it, but I believe that everybody blamed me, right? And they didn't. Like, nobody ever said anything, to make me feel that way, but my mind still, inflicted it on me and created the disorder as a way to deal with that. So I've always kind of wondered if part of this issue, stems from a weird inner desire to be hit by a car because of the survivor's guilt. That is a possibility. But let's look at the disorder. I have to have black and white, right? And I tell you, one of the weird things is I get the impression, and like I said, I don't jog around the corner. I jog a pretty far distance. I feel like if I stop at all for any reason, it's not validated. It's not a real run, right? That is the craziest, dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life, right? What? I'm not kidding. I can't tell you how many times, before I got diagnosed with the disorder, I mean, there'd be joggers stopped at the corner, and I would run past them and zipping through car, you know what I mean? And yeah, right? Because stopping at that corner is never an option. I do all kinds of jog down the busy street and then J jog across the street, right? Anything to avoid stopping, right? But remember, black and white. My mind has convinced me that if I stop, it's not a real run, right? That and the numbers on my jogs, it's crazy. Even if I pause it, the numbers are always off, right? And it'll throw me off a good probably 8 to 10 seconds. And I have numbers in my head that I like to try to stay within. I'm not getting any awards going out and jogging, right? I'm not posting on Facebook about my numbers, right? This is just, I'm really the only one that sees this number. But like I said, when you have this disorder, things like this, really, really kind of fester, right? So that's my weird anecdote. Like I said, I'm gonna talk to my therapist about that in our session tomorrow and get his opinion on that. We'll see how it goes. But yes, I I stopped at probably 8 intersections, paused my watch, closed my eyes, and I said that I will not let my disorder get me killed today. Every car has the right of way. Opened my eyes and waited until it was clear. So that's what I'm gonna try that. See how that works. Like I said, I mean, what's worst case scenario is I spend a couple extra seconds at the intersections on my job. We'll see. So took a lot of time already, and that actually wasn't even what I wanted to talk about. What I wanted to go over today is something that I feel, and I mentioned it in one of the previous videos, but it's one of the things that it's taken everything, right? It's affected my romantic relationships. It has affected my my friendship relationships, my friends of friends relationships, my work relationships, my employment, my professional relation. I mean, you name it. It affects it all. It's making fake enemies. So let me kind of start with romantic relationships. So what my disorder would do is, it lives off of pity, right? So man, pitying and glory hounding, right? And they kind of go hand in hand. And if you're not familiar, right, glory hounding is, just bragging to others about something that you did. Oh my God, that's awesome, right? And like the job, right? The reason, like I said, I don't want to mention how far, things like that, or how often I do it, because I don't want to get the impression, I don't want to allow my mind to think that I might be glory hounding, right? And that's, oh my God, that's amazing, right? Oh my God, I never knew you ran so far. That's, oh my God, you're awesome, right? Man, we need to build you a shrine. That's what the disorder wants. You know what I mean? And it gets that from glory hounding or pity, right? Something bad happens, right? We play the victim. Oh my God, that's terrible. It's the same as somebody saying, "Oh, that's amazing," right? I tell you what, I could just as easily want to tell you about how this person punched me in the face and have you tell me you're sorry for me, as I would telling you that I entered the Olympics and won a gold medal. I mean, it doesn't matter. That disorder still gets what it wants, whether it's pity or glory, right? That's what it wants. It feeds off it, right? It feeds off of others, telling us they either feel sorry or they're proud of us, or whatever. So in a romantic relationship, what I would do is I would find a way to make them an enemy when they weren't, right? And then let me kind of explain one of the ways that I would do that. So just an ordinary day, right? And not everybody has that super crazy energy every day. Some days it's just, but you're not in a bad mood. You're just, right? Maybe your energy level's an 8 instead of a 9, right? Well, I would pick up on that it was an 8, and my mind be like, oh, Jim, she mad at you. What'd you do? Well, you in trouble, right? You the reason that she's an 8. You got to find out why, and you got to fix this now. Hey, everything okay? And of course, it is, because there's nothing wrong. There's an 8, right? And that happens. Yeah, everything's fine. But then the mind starts lying to you. Oh, no. I thought it was bad before. It's even worse now. Whatever you did is so bad, they're not willing to talk to you. They're lying and telling you everything's okay because it's so big, right? And my mind's making all this up. Man, I had no idea what I did was, oh my God, what did I do? I mean, I gotta know now. And then I start tearing in, right? No, seriously, come on, you can talk to me. What's wrong? Nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. So over a couple hours, I may ask 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Who knows? I mean, but I ain't letting up until you tell me, right? What am I doing to that person's psyche? So on their side, they're like, I don't think anything's wrong, but he's looking at me. Does he see something I don't even know about myself? Am I crazy? Like, am I just not understanding my own emotions and feelings? That's one of the things. I mean, now they're questioning their own sanity, right? When I'm the one with the disorder, put my craziness on them, all right? What else are they doing? Man, I know I'm not upset. I know I'm not mad. I don't feel validated with my own emotions because he's not allowing me to feel validated. Because he's telling me how I feel, right? That's emotional abuse, right? And we're only at the bottom layer, right? It hasn't gotten bad yet, right? That's the bottom layer. So from there, I eventually get to a point where I kind of want to give up asking. I'm not giving up that they're mad at me, but I'm giving up asking, right? So now my mind's like, oh, well, if they're mad at you, we about to fight, right? I've now made a fake enemy. That person wasn't mad at me in any way, shape, or form, but I'm turning them into an enemy. So I have to retaliate, right? Because now it's time to fight. But I want to do so in a way without it being physical or verbal, right? I want to be very passive aggressive. So now maybe I give you the silent treatment, or maybe I start making passive, aggressive, kind of like snidey comments, right? And from there, I'm gonna start making you mad, and then you're gonna retaliate. We're gonna go back and forth. It's gonna escalate going back and forth, right? Until we're fighting, right? And I apologize because I know there is physical abuse associated with this disorder. I apologize. No, I'm not talking about I'm physically going to abuse you, right? I do apologize. I'm an emotional abuser. So for those that are subjected to physical abuse from people with this disorder, I apologize. That was very insensitive of me, right? But I've made you a real enemy now. Now we are fighting, right? Now we're screaming at each other. Now it is a full-blown fight because I made you a fake enemy, and I don't do that once in a while. I mean, that's all the time. Now, as we went back and forth and we escalated, some real stuff happened, right? So when I start reaching out to friends and family, I don't tell them, hey, you're never gonna guess what happened with so-and-so. Man, they were just at an 8. And I kept telling them that they were mad at me for no reason, even though I was wrong. No, that's not how I tell that story. Do I say, well, you're never gonna guess what happened, after I asked them like 8 times why they were mad at me and they're not? I gave them the cold shoulder for no reason when ultimately I was wrong and it was all my fault. No. I take all those things that you did and that's what I start telling them. I'm like, man, guess what she did? She did this, she did that, she did this, she did that. Oh, Jim, that's terrible, right? Disorder's eating, right? It's getting what it wants. It's getting that pity. And I'm telling anybody that'll listen, right? And the disorder's feeding, sitting on the shoulder, it's running the show, right? So that's how I would make a fake enemy. And that's emotional abuse. And that's what I've done in every relationship I've ever had. And, that's what I did to some people for years, right? But they're not the only ones I did that to, right? Oh, man. One that I caught myself, right, at work, and this one was recently, right? And it's a good segue into how do we deal with that? Well, first, right, you got to acknowledge you have this disorder, right? You got to want to put together a wellness plan, a betterment, something that's going to change your actions for the future. You got to decide that the things you've done in the past is not how you want to do things in the future, right? You've got to get a therapist, right? You got to work with a professional on this. You really do. So what I do is I ask myself a bunch of questions, and I will give you this experience I had at work recently. So I really enjoy sunrises and sunsets, and I get to work pretty early, and we have a lot of windows, and man, beautiful sunrise this day, and I go over and I'm just kind of like checking it out. And one of the employees, didn't really know them very well, just kind of like made a comment, oh, what a beautiful sunrise this morning, right? And they responded back something along the lines of, yeah, I saw it. Now, they may have sent this just, hey, I saw it, right? But my mind was like, hey, I saw that, right? And my mind wanted to make them an enemy, right? So my mind was like, ooh, man, you know what you need to do? You need to not talk to this person because they are snarky and they're being rude to you. And remember, I'm uber sensitive, right? But ask ourselves some questions, right? Has my disorder ever convinced me that somebody did something like this before and I was wrong? Oh God, yes. A lot. It happens a lot. Could that be happening here? Oh God, yes. Right? Is what your mind telling you the only option? No. What are some other options? Oh dear Lord, maybe she did see the sunrise already. Like maybe she was driving in and man, just soaked in this beautiful sunrise and got her full, right? Maybe something serious happened. I mean, maybe a loved one passed or something like that, and she's just trying to get through the workday. I told you sun's rising. It's early in the morning. Maybe they just met a morning person. What was that? Not till I have my coffee. Remember that commercial? Right? I don't know, right? But are there other options? Oh my God, so many of them. So many of them, right? So if you go down this path, what's going to happen? Oh, I'm gonna make this person a fake enemy. We're going to start escalating, right? And then, I'm going to start talking to people to get, let my disorder try to get that pity, right? Oh, and then eventually, like it's going to escalate to the point where it turns into something and I mean, I wind up leaving the job, or, the job separates from me. I mean, I don't want to work with enemies. I want to work with friends, right? I want to work with positive, healthy relationships, right? And I don't do that by making fake enemies, all right? So you cut it at the legs, right? And I don't allow it to escalate. And that was a perfect example of how that could have gone sideways, right? One of the other things that I'm doing is I'm trying, if I can, when I identify things I've done in the past, I'm trying to make amends, right? I'm trying to reach out to these people. I'm trying to apologize. If you realize that you've done wrong to someone, I do think we have an obligation to apologize. I can tell you, I did reach out to one person to apologize about a very specific, and I was like, man, yeah, that was me. That 110%, right? 110%, that was me. So I reached out and I was like, hey, about this situation, that was me, and I wanted to apologize. And they're like, I didn't even realize it was that big of a deal, Someone else, like, I'm not kidding, I apologized, and I reached out and I was like, hey, we were kind of having a bit of a feud, and about blah blah blah, and I'm sorry. And she's like, are you serious? She's like, I had no idea. I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. So some of these times in my mind, it's even blown. I'm trying to make like fake enemies, and it's not even worth it, right? But here's an important one. What do we do when they tell you no? Right? So I'm gonna share baby mama X, right? The person I've emotionally abused more than anybody in my entire life. We have 3 kids together. The oldest is 22, so I mean, it's not like I emotionally abused her for a short period of time. I mean, it was a long relationship. We've been separated for a pretty good amount of time. So not that long ago, she had basically gotten to a point where she told me, hey, look, you're welcome to see the kids, right? But other than that, I don't want any type of relationship with you. You know what I mean? And of course, people with our disorder, they are told. I'm sorry, people in a relationship with someone with our disorder, they're told, you cut them off completely, right? So if you have narcissistic personality disorder, right, and your significant other goes to a professional, more than likely, they acknowledge that you have it. They're going to tell them you need to get out of that relationship, and you need to block them in every way possible. Cease any future communication of any kind. Like that's basically what they will tell them to do. So if you are in a relationship with somebody and you believe they have narcissistic personality disorder, or they have been diagnosed, right, it is recommended that you get out of that relationship and you cease all communication of any kind, right? Now, of course, that's not going to be possible, right? Of course, we have children together, so she knows she's not going to go the rest of her life and never see me again, right? But she wanted to make sure that there was going to be no even like friendship kind of relationship. Even though I tried to reach out recently, and because I acknowledged, man, I've done so much emotional abuse for so many years, and so many god-awful, terrible things, that I would really love nothing more than to be able to sit down, process some of it, and apologize for it. But I gotta, no, I have no interest. And what do we do? Like we're trying to work on towards a future of betterment, right? We're trying to work on a wellness plan, right? And we want to make amends, and they say no. We got to acknowledge that. They have a right to say no. The one thing I'm trying to do as well is I'm trying to take accountability for my part that caused that, right? I can't change the past, but that damage that I did, that emotional abuse for years and years and years and years, that's what led to her saying, no, I have no interest in sitting down and talking to you about this at all. None whatsoever. right? I caused that, right? Me allowing my disorder to do whatever it wanted and those years of emotional abuse caused that. I have to take responsibility for that. I have to take accountability for that, right? Do I want to apologize? Yes, right? So what my plan moving forward is, I'm not gonna hound, right? That's what the disorder wants. Oh my God, and it wants to play the victim. I'm not gonna run around telling people, man, you will not believe what did, right? And giving me the pity. No, I'm not feeding you. I'm not feeding you, right? You get under my foot. I don't leave you on my shoulder anymore. You get under my foot. I'm not feeding you. I'm not giving you the pity you want. It ain't happening. Stop asking. Right? I'm not gonna play the victim. Right? I'm not gonna run around begging for people to pity me. Right? But I'm gonna try to mend that relationship. And not the romantic relationship, right? But that friendship. If over time I feel like it would be appropriate to ask again, I may. Because I do really genuinely want to sit down and she deserves apologies for a lot of stuff. And I really want to allow her the opportunity to say some things to me, right? For the abuse that I gave her. And I do believe it's going to be healthy for her, right? But I can't make her, right? And I'm not going to allow this disorder for me to hound her and ask over and over and over and over again, or even try to manipulate, right? Because that's what the disorder wants to do. It wants us to manipulate and find ways to get what we want. I'm not doing that, right? I did that for way too many years, and I did way too many too much damage to too many people, including this girl, to do that again, right? So if ultimately that's never an option, I'm going to have to acknowledge and accept that, right? And if you have this disorder, you need to be ready that's a possibility, right? Sorry, talked really long, but this one was really important. If we can find ways to stop making fake enemies, man, lots is going to change, right? I mean, and I did it with everything. I was I would do it with, like I said, friends of friends, co-workers and peers, at work, right? People on the other parents on my kids' hockey game, right? I mean, just unacceptable, right? And if we can change that, man, that future's going to be different, because that's what it's about, right? It's about making the years to come better than the years that we've seen, in the past. I don't know how long you've been diagnosed, right? I'm still pretty fresh. I mean, I'm in months, but in this short period of time, man, I've seen so many amazing changes and differences, and by treating things differently, right? And that's only going to keep on continuing, right? I mean, the example of work, right? I love my job. It's a great job, right? And man, I do not want to let this disorder F this up. I love my job, right? And I think they like me, right? And I'm not gonna make fake enemies at work, because I'm gonna be able to identify with it, what's happening, and I'm gonna be able to change my course of action, right? And I hope if you have this disorder, you're able to do the same. And I hope if you know somebody that has this disorder, that you're not being abused. And if you are, I hope you do some research and you make the best choice for yourself in your future. Bye.